Welcome to This Week in Washington for Friday, April the 26th, 2013. Yesterday, I had one of those rare opportunities to take some time, along with three of my colleagues, Karen, Charlie Dixon, and Scott, to visit with Santo Grande at his operation in Cambridge, Maryland. Delmarva Community Services is a public transportation provider in a rural community, but also Santo's agency provides an important range of badly needed services to people in the community. He's well known for his services in public transportation, but also in housing, in community economic development, in serving seniors and people with disabilities. We also had a chance to look at a new project that they're undertaking that includes developing what I call a small planned community, which will be centered around a community facility that serves the intergenerational needs of various people in the community. It will include housing for low and moderate income people, seniors, people with disabilities, and for other individuals who want to live in a well-planned community, that a community center that provides a range of activities, including exercise and possibly swimming, down to centers for adults and centers for seniors to work and visit and talk together as part of a kind of traditional community setting. The nice thing about it is, besides having great public transit that that Delmarva will be planning, it also includes a great deal of walkability in a very nice area. So I hope that this fall, when we have our fall board meeting out in Cambridge at Mr. Grande's operation, you'll be able to see some of the great services that they're doing and some of the important work that they're doing as well. As Sandy Staff was nice to point out to us, the important work they do in helping people in the community is really dependent upon having a strong, viable community and public transit system. And in his case, that public transit system that they operate provides the essential glue to hold these vital services together for the good of the community and the people they serve. In Washington this week, there was a hearing by the House Budget Committee that dealt with the possibility of transportation funding in the budget that is currently being discussed for the next fiscal year. There was a hearing that included representatives of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Reason Foundation, to talk about what should be done about the Highway and Transportation Trust Fund. The Chamber of Commerce, a supporter of transit, gave a report and a very powerful report statement supporting public transit within the scope of the Highway and Transit Trust Funds. A person from the Reason Foundation, on the other hand, adopted the approach that transit funding should not be included in the Transportation Trust Fund, and that the fund needed to return to its, quote, original intent of building and maintaining the interstate highways only. There was some spirited discussion about this from members of Congress who were at the hearing. Earl Blumenauer, who we all know as a great transit advocate, took on these issues head-on and spoke vigorously in defense of maintaining transit as an important part of the transportation program and in the Transit Trust Fund. Unfortunately, Congressman Roger Williams of Texas stood up and talked about the need to get transit out of the trust fund because, according to him, I don't see why I should have to put gas in my tank to pay for some public transit system back east or somewhere else, even though the congressman represents part of Austin and Cleburne. Cleburne has a 5311 program, of which I'm personally familiar, and Austin, as we know, has a great public transit system that also includes carts. So we think that kind of misinformation is really not helpful in the overall discussion. I would say that these committee hearings at the Budget Committee do reflect the positions of the leadership of the House of Representatives and is another reminder of the partisan differences that have emerged on transportation and on transit that are very difficult for us to deal with. This process has only begun, and we hope that there will be additional hearings by other committees of Congress that will allow representatives of transit providers and our industry to testify to tell the real truth about transit. You also may have noticed that Congress was dealing with the sequester this week with the FAA, who has been laying off and cutting services around the country. Congress is now concerned that this sequester is beginning to cause difficulties, especially in air service. Some people were a little bit cynical, saying this might have something to do with their plans to return home for another break, and that they were going to be questioned by people in airports about why flights are being delayed everywhere. But needless to say, they passed a bill yesterday in the Senate to correct the problems caused by the sequester in the FAA, and the House is supposed to follow today. As in the discussion of the budget, the sequester still maintains a significant problem on the horizon for many of us and the programs that support much of community and public transit. We're all still told that there is an opportunity for a grand bargain to work this out. I'm certainly not optimistic, and we're going to have to see how the situation develops in the immediate short-term and long-term future as these issues continue to progress in Congress. We had some really good news yesterday besides visiting Santo. We were in receipt of some communications from SteamTube, and a group of people that publish magazines and transportation information within the United Kingdom. SteamTube publishes the Railway Chronicles, and the Rail Magazine staff of CTAA, headed by Rich Sampson in this case, struck an agreement with SteamTube and Rail Chronicles that will allow Rail Magazine to be distributed by these friends of ours as partners throughout the United Kingdom. This act allows us to increase the distribution of Rail Magazine by 6,000 readers in the United Kingdom. This 6,000 additional readers brings the current Rail Rider readership up to 30,000 readers. We're really excited about this. What it means to us is that our message will be carried into other places around the world now, and hopefully down the road that will generate more support and enhance revenue for Rail Magazine, but this is a really good outcome. So we're very grateful to Rich, and we're very grateful to our colleagues in the United Kingdom for including us as one of what they called the best publications we could possibly distribute. Additionally, we're looking for new opportunities along those lines as well, and I hope that you saw the notice that Rail Magazine for this issue includes a discussion of Canada and Canada's rail systems. It was a bit ironic that Rail went to publishing digitally pretty much around the same time the terrorism story surfaced about rail in Canada. And we're all reminded of the dangerous times in which we live, and that despite the events of the last several weeks, transit and transportation facilities are always vulnerable to extremists and people who are engaging in these forms of activities. So I hope you'll have a chance to look at Rail. I look forward to talking with you soon about some new issues we have for Expo, where things look really good as we move ahead. I hope you'll have a good week, and we'll be in touch soon. So thanks for tuning in today, and Santo, thanks for doing such a great job. Bye for now.